Welcome back to another basic GameMaker Studio tutorial, and this time I wanted to show you how you can actually do some really pretty sweet animations with the image editor, which is part of GameMaker Studio. And this is, let's say, a smaller version of Photoshop, so this is quite limited but actually quite powerful as well. So you can do a lot of things. So if you don't know or have any editors, let's say like Photoshop, Gimp, Aseprite and whatever all they are called, well, this one is actually a pretty decent start. So most of you guys won't be using most of those features, but I'm just gonna go through all of them so you actually understand what they mean, at least the most relevant ones in GameMaker Studio. So if you want to know all that shabam around it and do some fancy schmancy stuff, stay tuned. This is One Up Indie. I am the developer of the indie game Clunky and a programmer / pixel artist. So if you are new here and you want definitely more, consider subscribing to my channel, because I try to upload every second day, every day, a video that helps you out. So share my stuff if you can. And sub, of course. So what is all that stuff? So here, this is just for the beginners. You have all your sprites on the right side, this thing. And if it's not there, well, take it out. And here, normally you just, let's say, do right mouse button, then you create a sprite. Of course, you can already take existing ones, which are somewhere in other projects of in other projects of GameMaker Studio, so you can just flip-flop between those two, and then it will import them inside your new project, which is the current one which you're using here. So most of the time you won't be using most of the functions, but let's say, for example, these guys here, collision mask, I already did this, so I'm not gonna go into here. The resizing, well, this is kind of interesting. So let's say, for example, you want to resize the canvas. So this is this box here. Then you can do this by those numbers. Of course, it doesn't need to have a specific aspect ratio. You can do like 54 by 51 by 20 something. Doesn't really matter. But here you have some, well, scale in pixels and percent and interpolation. Here, of course, now you won't be seeing. So most of the time you just go for import. Let's say we're having food. Of course, you can mark all of them and bam, they're in there. And then, well, you can cycle, because here you have your speed. So this is not terribly important. But for example, if you would resize them, let's say by 16 by 16, you would of course lose some some pixelated, you would lose some quality, because these things are pixel art. Let's say, for example, let's make them actually bigger, so let's make them double the size. And if you do interpolation linear, not pixel perfect, then you would get something like this. And as you can see, it looks blurry, because GameMaker Studio is trying to interpolate it, so squeeze it upwards, and then as you can see, it will, this is just a good thing if you have gradients, things which are kind of fluent. But for pixel art, don't do this. So most of the time you just go for import. Of course, maybe you want to do a little bit more. You just go edit image, and then you're presented with this stuff, which is the, I hate you guys, not you, just the guys on top. Hopefully you don't hear that too much. Yeah, so this is the editor, and you can actually do some editing besides maybe like just drawing, which is kind of pointless a lot of times. Here you can actually do, and this is what most people will be doing, because they maybe want to have a little bit more control. They can, let's say, add some additional let's say images, and then here, for example, because sometimes they are smaller, and as you can see, this one is 64 by 64 because I scaled it up. Now it's saying, hey, import to this specific canvas size. So let's say bam, as you can see, this is the original one, it pops in. Or let's say you want to import it, let's say go for the, but you want to resize the canvas, and now it will crop it down. And here, this is just crop it down from the middle position or from the top right, top left, and so on. So this is what it does. For example, let's do it like this. Bam, as you can see. this stuff is good, this stuff is good, but that one has been cropped. So just be careful if you import other things which have different kind of sizes. For example, if they have the same size, it doesn't really matter. So let's say, for example, we are killing all of them, and let's say we import an image, let's say the cookie, which has the same size. As you can see, no window of resizing, and this is not a problem. But for example, if you go and import and do something like this, you will override it. So here you will override it with the new stuff. So if you go for import, if you edit image, here you can actually add new things. Maybe you made some new sprites and then you wanted to add, do it here. Then the next thing you can, for example, and this is kind of interesting, you can actually cover to frame. This is pretty interesting. For example, let's say you're having 16 by 16. You wanted to make your own sprite sheet. Yes, you can do it. Of course, here it doesn't really look too good. For example, if you would do it now, then you have 4 parts. Not really useful, but for example, if you wanted to make your own sprite sheet, which generally looks something like import from strip. So if you wanted to have a strip, something like this, then it does work. So here, this is of course the next thing. Maybe you have a strip, not single images, then you need to, well, you want to import them into your game, and here you just give it how many frames you have. I'm having here a few more, so as you can see, bam, and then the frame width, which is 16 by 16, so this is the same. Then maybe you want some offsets for the shelf, for the pixels, and the separation. Not gonna go into this detail, but let's say we convert it, and then as you can see, it is inside your game. So this is one of the most common things, which I guess most of the time you will be using. Of course, if you are doing this stuff, of course you can actually export it. So let's say we call it demo strip, whatever, bam, and now I am having it inside this folder. So as you can see here, you can even export your stuff which you made in GameMaker Studio. So you can basically flip-flop between different programs. If you like some, you're not just taking it into GameMaker, you can actually take it out of GameMaker, which is definitely a cool thing. So this is the, well, let's call it the interesting part. And here I would just give you a quick crash course in how you can actually do some things which are well, this fire, because it is not too difficult, because here I just did and as you can see, 3 layers. So this is a thing which you need to understand about the image editor, because here you can actually do quite a lot of things, but everything which is on one layer stays permanent. So let's say we go into our this guy here, kill all the other hearts, and then we edit, and for example we are, I don't know, taking this tool here, so the paintbrush, and then we are painting over it. Let's go for a color which you actually see. Then we're just painting over it, and then it stays on it. So here, just to avoid it, well, Control Z to make it disappear. So go back. You have here, besides your toolbox where you have all your things, so you can actually pull it up, pull it down. You have layers, and for example, you put another layer on it, and then you can start drawing. I don't know, if you wanted to do and something additionally which is on top, then maybe you don't like it. Well, you can, well, first of all, with the icon here, you can just take it away, and then I don't know, if you don't like this stuff, yeah, blah blah blah, go away. Then you can well, redo, or for example just take stuff away maybe which you didn't want to do in the end. So this is one of the more interesting things, so just take that in mind. So let's say we're having a blank one, because this is how it starts. Here you press on the plus and you're getting new frames, or you do right mouse button, then you say add frame or insert frame. The one is just adding one after the last one, or between those two. So this one is selected. Let's say for example we paint it here, some nice color, go away. Okay, you don't want it, it's hidden. Alright, grill. Let's see if it does work now. Yeah, it does work now. let's say for example you're having a new layer, just skipping in here, we'll show you a few things more. So we are painting here, and then go away. We want to add a new frame. So for example, we add a frame. As you can see, this one is going after it, and we selected this one, and we go right mouse button, insert frame, then it will go after the one which has been selected. So you can see this little X symbol here. Bam, this is how it works. So here, this is just painting in the end, and you can actually do more besides doing this pixel art blocky stuff. You can actually have different brushes, and the interesting part about brushes is that besides having it, let's say in a block shape or in a round shape, you can actually change the size here. So as you can see, size, and you can smoothen it out. So this is pretty interesting because now I filled up the whole screen, but you can actually do some interesting stuff. So if you want to have some smooth object which is like interpolated on the edges, well, this is what you can do. So this is the interesting part. And for example, here you have your colors, which you can you paint with the left mouse button, which is here the red color, or for example with the right mouse button, which is the black color. Of course, you can double click on that, go into values, you can go RGB or just drag and drop and you get one of those colors. No problem. You can check this out. If you like a color very specifically, you can actually click here, store color, and bam, here you have it, and it will be in every other thing which you are getting in. So for example, we double click in here, the color is there. So this is how you can actually store things if you like. Of course, there's other ways how you can do this. So if, for example, if you are changing the whole color palette, which you can actually do. So this is the default color palette. Let's say you want to change one. Let's go for the super pink version here. Bam. Then this color palette has been changed and adapted. So this is you can modify it as you like. And of course, here are the most current ones which you use. So bam, 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 not a problem. Then you have the anti-brush tool, which once again works the same as the paintbrush, but you just do it negatively. So basically, you just delete things, and if you can make it smooth or not smooth depending how you like it. So you can play around, not a problem. Then we have our, yay, this color is great, no, take it away. So this is, for example, the what is it called, the fill tool. So you just fill it up, and for example, if you're having, let's say, concrete values, so let's say you're having something already marked. So let's say, no, let's make it smaller, then it will just fill this area. So let's say we fill it up with green, bam, it does work. But for example, if you have different tolerances which you can set up here, it can go out, and this is just basically the alpha tolerance. As you can see, bam, this is going over it. So here just play around with what kind of tolerances you're having, so it goes in and out, so you can fill up kind of spaces. Then we're having this tool, which is, I don't know, I guess useful, maybe not. Let's say you paint it in different colors, let's say this green and this blue, but you say, hey, I don't want this color. You just click on it, bam, and it kills all the colors which are there. So as you can see, you have still, once again, a tolerance. Let's say our tolerance is quite high, then we kill all the colors or which are similar. So you can play around with those things. Not too useful in my opinion. Of course, if you're doing pixel art, it is useful, but for me, nah. So the next thing is, this is the color replace. So if you wanted to, let's say you're having an image, let's kill all those guys here, import, and let's go for, once again, for the cookie. Make it okay, bye, and let's say I want to, let's say, change a specific color, which is this one. Whoops. So we want the cookie to be blue in this spot, so this color, bam. You can do it like this, or you do the magic wand tool, which is quite as a standard in the Photoshop and Gimp as far as I know. Then you can select this one color. Of course, it will only go, once again, it will go and select, now as you can see, a little bit more because I ramped up the tolerance. But here, if you wanted just one color, well, you can do this. And for example, you're seeing, but this color is not being taken. Hold your, shift, and then it's actually taking all of them, and then you can fill it up with your bucket here to a red color. So these are the two things. They are kind of similar to this one. Of course, they have their uses and so on. The next thing, which is, I don't know, maybe you want to draw some shapes. Line, yay. If you're holding, I guess, shift, then it will be only a straight line, so 45 degrees angles, as you can see. Not too terribly important. Then you can draw that stuff, yay, yay, yay. Then you're having some shapes, and this is the interesting part. Here you have rectangle tool, as you can see, rectangle tool outline and rectangle tool fill. And here, this is one of the things which kind of hidden if you don't pay attention to this. So it says click and drag to draw a rectangle, shift for a square. So let's say you're having, you're just using your mouse button like this, but if you're pressing shift, it doesn't really change. As you can see, if you press shift, your rectangle is being, let's say, for example, here now is it free, but here if you press shift, the rectangle has the same proportions. If you're pressing alt, then it will spawn from the center, and if you press alt and shift, bam, you can do this shape proportional plus going from the center. And here, of course, you can do this stuff, stroke, fill, and both. So what is that? So basically, if you do something like this, as you can see, this is the top left corner with a filling of, let's go for green. So basically we can have just this rectangle being an outline, or with the right mouse button an outline. So as you can see, you're taking those colors in, but maybe you want to fill, then you're filling it, or you just press on the top left corner or the right of this symbol. It's kind of hidden, but it's an interesting quirk. Or maybe you want to do both. So as you can see, bam, and with the right mouse button, the negative version, so with those two colors. So this is the thing. Of course, you can do that with yay with another shape. Then you can smoothen it out if you like, or make it, well, pixelated. So if you have a pixel art game, and this is basically, and then of course you have something like an arc shape. So this is combining two points, so you can just play around with that. Not too useful in my opinion. And well, you have the polygon shape, which is, once again, you're combining 3 points or 4 points, and you're building kind of a polygon shape. In the end, it's not a polygon shape, it's just a thing which you draw in this one specific canvas. Of course, if you want to change this, you can have different kind of layers. You can actually group them. So you press on here, then, well, you just draw on this specific thing, and then of course you can delete it and play around, because layers are kind of interesting. And of course here you just delete it. So here, bam, 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 let's take all that stuff away which we don't need. So these are the tools. Once again, you are having here, and this is a specific thing. Once you are using the text tool, so you're just writing some text, first of all, just take whatever text you're liking, then the size, and then anti-aliasing. So if you don't have this switched on, that means just that you are writing it in pixel art. So basically the edges are not interpolated. So let's say, what kind of, this looks really strange. But for example, if you would do this with anti-aliasing, bam, as you can see, now it's some interpolation. Of course, because it's so small, it doesn't look too good. But let's say it's a bigger picture, then, well, it definitely looks interesting, because here it tries to make a font with 5 pixels, and fonts are a little bit bigger, so just take that into consideration. But as you can see now, it's still all on one layer. So just play around with the layers because this is the interesting part. So the next thing is, if you wanted, yes, go away. If you wanted to have a specific color, you just go with this. What is color picker? You just go in here, bam, and then it will be if you press the left mouse button here, or if you press the right mouse button, it will be here. So left, right mouse button are all the time interestingly used. But here we come to the rectangle tool, which is kind of similar. So this one is just picking the magic wand, the specific colors, but here you can have specific areas. So you just drag it like this. Now, if you press the left mouse button outside this area, it will disappear. Of course, you can press the escape button, then it's gone as well. But as you can see now, you can actually move around here, and here click, drag and drop the selection. And for example, if you want to add some stuff or delete it, this is how we can do it. So this is Alt to subtract, or what was the other one? Control to add. So let's take Control. As you can see now, the selection is different. Then you can move around or cut out some stuff if you like, because well, this is what you can do. What is this? Paint selection, don't really care. This is just for, I don't know, if you're taking something and then you can turn around. This is basically for the selection. So let's say we selected the cookie and we want to rotate it. And here you can interpolate it or make it pixel art, but let's say go for pixel art. It looks awful. So just keep that in mind. And what you're seeing here now in your brushes, you're having the cookie, which is kind of interesting because once you copy something into the memory or you change it, let's kill it, bam, you actually produce it as a brush, and if you can actually brush it. This is pretty sweet if you're having a big tile set and you want to do some stuff with it. So basically you just want to copy paste things which are part of a bigger tile set. So let's say, do I want to show my tile set? No, I don't want to share that. So this is the most important part. So let's do some fun stuff because this is quite rather theoretical and I don't want to bore you too much. How can we actually do something like this or something like this? So let's make a new, create sprite. And this is the interesting part which I didn't actually use, and do this because let's go for edit image. And now let's take, let's start with a reddish color, make it a little bit bigger, make it interpolated, yeah. And now we are just making some images, and let's say for example we are doing something like this, we want to move it up. So how can we do this? Well, we let it run, and then we do something like this, and we got our animation here. So this is looking pretty sweet. This is actually kind of fun. So as you can see, this is how I made my little sprite animation for the fire. And then of course you can cut it a little bit if you like. Cut it out a little bit on the corners, because why not? And let's make a specific new layer which is a little bit above. So let's make it orange, a little bit smaller in the center, so it appears that it is a fire. Come on, come on, come on. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. And as you can see, I'm just moving a little bit up, and during the animation something is happening. Then let's make a second layer. Now here you can actually make it blend mode. So this is, if you have seen my other tutorials, there are blend modes. Here normal, this will be just displayed normally. Add, then it will of course add the color, so the blending is different. Subtract, it will go into different colors, and this is multiply. Kind of difficult sometimes, so just play around if you like. And then the most important part is, here you can actually change the opacity of the whole layer. So let's make it a little bit less big and make some dark spots here, which are going up, going up, going up, going up, and going up. As you can see, now we created our first fire. Looks not the best, but of course you can actually upgrade it, change it, and bam. So what I did, and this is the last thing which I wanted to show you. So let's say I made this fire here a little bit more, and then maybe I want to change it and apply an effect, because GameMaker Studio has this. Not sure why they didn't have more. So you can actually put in a grayscale, which is just making everything gray. not so fun, but we can actually apply a blur. And here you can have only on the selected layer, so one of those here, on all layers. Then it will preview, then you can make it a little bit blurry, which is definitely looking good. And of course I want to apply it to all the frames. And now this could be actually used as a background prop. So let's run it like this. It doesn't look too bad. So you could actually use it for your game. So that was the Sprite image editor. Lots of cool things. For example, here you have a loading animation, which I did with some sprites which are just going in. It's the same what I showed you with the fire. And then I made a Gaussian blur. Bam. Do I have something else? Nah, it's the same. So hopefully that was of interest to you and you know how to do those cookies here. And well, what can I else show you? I guess I'm pretty much done. So these are the colors, these are your brushes, copy paste, you get extra brushes. If you don't like them, go and hit delete. Here you have your color palettes, changeable. And then you have your little helper down here. If you don't know what that is, then all those brushes definitely have their functionality. This is of course just for moving. So this is how you move the layer. If you want to move the whole thing here, you press the middle mouse button and you hold it, and then you can change it. Then of course you have little helpers like for the view, which is just if you want to have a grid, let's say a green grid of 4 pixels by 4 pixels. Of course it doesn't need to be 4 pixels, you can have like 8, 7, it doesn't really matter. Then you can snap. This is not too useful in my opinion. So here it will just snap into, as you can see, the top left. So if you want to have a pattern, well, you can use it. Not too terribly important in my opinion. Then you can zoom out, zoom in. You can snap it one to one, how it actually looks like in real. So basically this is how it is, because this is 32 or 62 by 62. So this is quite small on my monitor. Or you press on this guy here, bam, full screen, so you can have it. And then of course this is quite interesting as well. You can actually have a double screen. So you can actually a split screen of the same frame. And here you can actually change it how you want to have it, like this, like this, like this. And maybe let's say you want to zoom in a specific thing, but the other thing you want to have on outside, as you can see. Then this is very interesting for pixel art, because you want to zoom in some specific parts, but you want to see how it looks on the outside when it is full. So this is an interesting thing. And one last, which is the onion view. Never used it, onion skinning. So basically you are just seeing here you can just drag that thing, and this is just showing you the previous images or the ones which you're having, and then they kind of are a shadowy thing at the behind. So this is, I guess, good if you're doing some animation. Never used it, don't want to use it, but this is how you can do this. Skip on that part. So hopefully you know how to do the editor, you know what all those tools are, and that you should be playing with the layers, because this is how most professional they're called editing programs like Photoshop and Gimp and so on work, because this is basically on all layers. The whole GameMaker Studio is on whole layers, so yeah. And play around, because it is pretty good, and you can actually do some fun animations like the fire and things if you don't want to use particle systems. So this is the shortcut for you. So hopefully that was of interest to you guys, and see you next time. Have a good one. One up indie.